Yo, what's going on, guys? Reversal here, and today we're doing the first of many Jurrac Dinosaur deck profiles. And at the end of the profile, I'll show off one of the combos that I've been working on. There's a ton of different ways you can incorporate some of the Jurrac cards into the Dino deck. So there's going to be a ton of different videos coming out in the near future for however you want to use the cards. I think some are better than others, but we'll kind of talk more about that in the future, and I'll touch on it in this video a little bit. But before I get into everything, if you haven't subbed to the channel already, definitely do that now. Drop a like, comment, all that good stuff. It all helps me out. And if you're interested in this dinosaur playmat or these sleeves, check out finalsaga.de. And if you decide to buy anything, use my code VERSA5 for 5% off your order. Anything you buy using the code helps support the channel directly. So definitely check them out. I'll leave a link in the description. So for this profile, I landed on 45 cards. Some of the ratios are probably going to change a little bit here and there over time with more testing, but this is just kind of my initial thoughts on some things. This is how I'm going to play the deck, more or less, so it might not be for everyone, but there'll be some things that you can take away from this to do in other builds as well. But like I said, I'll cover other builds as well that are more like budget friendly and things along that nature. So just leave a comment on what types of Jurrac stuff you want to see, and I'll do it at some point. I think the fact that the Bicorn Synchro level 6 didn't get imported kind of hurts the like pure Jurrac a lot. And another card is the Link to Fire Flame Tongue, which I don't know if most of you know what that does, but that card's really good for helping with follow-up, and we didn't get that card either. It's been stuck in import hell for like 2 years. I don't know when we're gonna get it, but hopefully we get those two cards soon, because they would help a lot with the Jurrac's like core gameplay. But for this profile, I'm just gonna be using very small Jurrac package, because I think that's probably the best way to incorporate it into the Dino deck. Before I get into like my profile, I'll talk about this guy a little bit. The Stego, a lot of people are excited about this because it's technically a one card combo, but I'm not a big fan of this card personally, just because you have to play like Aeolos in your deck and stuff like that, and then this card locks you in a Dino, so your plays are extremely limited through this card. Since there's not a ton of options, you just kind of have to go through the Astero and Meteor stuff, and you just big booms everywhere, and then you have to somehow get follow-up. There's really not too much follow-up avenues besides just having an Ovi and hoping it gets you there. If you play like the Xeno stuff with the vanilla, it can help with the follow-up a lot, since we didn't get any of the imports. So that's something I'll cover at some point, but for now I'm not planning on using Stego personally, but I'll still cover it in the future because I know a lot of people do want to use it. So with all that being said, I'll get right into how I'm going to play the deck. And start off, we have 3 Ovi, 1 Archosaur, 3 babies, and 1 petite. I'm still just going to play 1 Archosaur because I don't think you need more than 1. I think you just learn to play with 1 and then it's fine. I might bump petite up to 2 potentially. It just kind of depends on some other things, but I'm definitely going to be playing at least 1 just because you just want to see a baby in your hand, because it helps you with 3 card combos as well to be able to play through hand traps. Then 1 Misc. Hopefully we get more of this soon, but I'm not holding my breath. More Misc would help, especially the Jurrac, like pure Jurrac deck, a lot, because it's really like focused on the Stego resolving, and if it doesn't, you're kind of don't really have much going for you. And the 1 Giant Rex. I'm playing Rex specifically, which I'll get to later on, but I think Rex is better than Kaito now. Then 2 Conductor. Second one, just so you can have a better chance at having follow-up, whether you can pop a baby with the first one and get you an OV for next turn, or if you just happen to draw an extra one or whatever. It's just good to have a second one for follow-up purposes. And the 1 Meteorus, no vanilla. You can get this in your combo and then hard make the new Synchro 10, and then it helps kind of extend your combo, since that can place the field spell, which can pop a baby. So that's cool. I don't know if I'll end up keeping this in the deck or not, but it does open a lot more combo routes to just because you get more out of the combo when you do play the card and end up popping the baby with the field spell. So might keep it in. We'll kind of see. And then 2 Megalos. This could potentially be a 3 of. I think the card by itself doesn't do anything, but it's really nice to draw a lot of the time, whether you draw it with an Ovi. If you don't have another combo piece, you can still do like a little combo with Ovi and Megalo, which is cool. And then if you open this card alongside your combo pieces, it helps you a lot through stuff like Droll as well. So I like the Megalo a lot. I think when you're not playing the Stego, you can kind of just use this as a additional body, and then you can set up the Pop Engrave or the Estero Engrave, and then kind of just use it as a backup plan. And as opposed to just the blowing up your own board and their board just being like your whole game plan, it's more of like a just a nice additional layer to go with the rest of your combo. So I think Megalo is really good. I think this card should be standard in any Dino build that's playing babies, because even if you're not playing the Meteorus, you could play Ground Xeno with this card. So just being able to play Ground Xeno is really cool without having to play like all the Xeno stuff. And even if you draw Ground Xeno without a baby, the fact that you can just add the Megalo and destroy the Megalo and you set up a nuke just off that is pretty cool. So for some spells, we got 3 Fossil Dig, 3 Ground Xeno, 1 Pill, and 1 Volcano. So Ground Xeno could potentially be a 2 of. I'm just going to try it at 3 for now, because it is good on its own to still like set up a nuke. But it could end up being a 2 of, mainly because I think it's good when you start with it, because like baby plus ground plays well around Droll. But if you have Ground Xeno and you want to use it as an extender, and you get Drolled in your first play, that can be really annoying. So that'd be a reason to play 2, I think. But for now, I'm going to try 3, see how it goes. If I like 3, I might bump Petite up to 2. But these are just things that will come with testing to see what end up liking more. 1 Pill still. I don't think you need to if you just learn how to play with the 1. Most hands, you'll find that whether you draw Archosaur or Pill, if you only play 1, you can still maneuver around it and not lose the game because you draw these cards. The amount of times where you draw like the 1-ofs and you actually lose because of it are actually very slim. So I like playing as a 1-on-1 to cut down on kind of some of the bad cards. But that's just my preference at this point. And then 1 of the Volcano. This card's like a diagram at home, kind of. It only pops on the field, sadly. If it popped from hand as well, this card would be broken. But during your main phase, you could destroy a Dino you control, and if you do, you special at Jurrac from your deck. So it's pretty cool. You can access this through your combo and then use it to pop a baby, and then you get an additional Megalo body. So it just helps kind of extend your combos. And then this has another effect that if your opponent activates 4 monster effects, you can summon a Jurrac Meteor. So it's a nice little layer to your board where your opponent just has to kind of be mindful of that. While this is just sitting in your field spell zone, they could end up playing through all your stuff potentially, which I don't think most people probably will be able to do. But if they do, this can just be looming in the background to blow the field up at any point, because most decks will activate 4 monster effects at some point. So I think it's just a solid 1 of if you're playing the Meteorus. If you're not playing the Meteorus, I don't think you need to play it. But if you do open this and you have a hand where you don't mind normal summoning the baby, Volcano plus baby is technically full combo as well. So it's not really like a bad 1-of to play, because it is technically a combo piece if you need it to be. But for the most part, you're just going to be placing it off the synchro. So that's it for the engine for the Dinos. Another engine I'm personally playing is Fiendsmith still. I'm just playing 2 Engraver, 1 Lacrima, 1 Lurie, 2 Tract, and the Paradise. I know a lot of people might not have access to these, but I think they're still the best way to play Dinos, especially with the Astero blowing up your field. These cards just provide a lot of follow-up, and they help with the layering as well. Because if you have like the Astero setup engrave and then a Paradise, like that's really hard to play through if they can get through your monsters on field. So a lot of the times, whether you have just like one ground Xeno and a Fiendsmith card or a way to 2 bodies, you can set up like Caesar, Paradise, and then a Stero, which is like a pretty good end board off like having suboptimal hands, for example. But yeah, these cards are just too good not to play, I think. If you don't have them, I will show versions that don't play these cards, but I think if you're going with Astro nuke stuff, you really need to make sure you have some decent follow-up, and I think the Fiendsmith cards give you better follow-up than most things that you can play, because these cards just keep kind of recurring every turn. So, and then Megalo just being a free body is half a Fiendsmith combo, so I think just having the Fiendsmith cards gives Megalo so much more utility that it otherwise doesn't have. But it's still a good card without Fiendsmith, but I think the Fiendsmith cards just really make Megalo shine. But yeah, I decided to just play 2-tracked. Since I only have 2, I'd probably play 3 if I had 3, but I'd cut the Engraver down to 2 just because this card's really bad to start with and to draw. And I didn't want to play Saint because it's really bad going second, so decided to go with that for now, since I figure I'll be able to just stick 2 bodies more often with Megalo. Then for non-engine, playing 3 Fua. I think you need this card right now. I'm playing 2 Perulia. This one's more optional, but if you have it, I think it's good whether it's in the main deck or the side deck. I'm just maining it because I feel like versus Mitsu Ryzeal, you just need to see like the Charmies or Droll to really have a chance. And if you do see those cards, the matchup gets significantly more manageable. But if you don't see them, winning going second is very hard into that deck. Then I got 3 Ash. It's just a decent card, and it can negate the Charmies, so it has dual purpose as a hand trap and a defensive card. 3 Droll, like I said, you need this card, I think, for Mitsu Ryzeal, pretty much. But you don't have to like main all these 3 if you don't want to. You can not play Perulia, because I know most people probably don't have it because it's still expensive. So, but I think Fua and Droll are still very good. Then I'm playing 2 Fenrirs. This one's more experimental. I've liked this card in the Fiendsmith version a lot in the past, just because it's a free body. Just in case like your Dino stuff gets hand trapped, you can pivot to a Moon. But I think with the addition of the Jurrac stuff, this card could still be pretty good, because if you use Fenrir, add another Fenrir, and then you end up getting to the Estero, and then you nuke your field, you can still just, next turn, you'll have this Fenrir to start your turn with, which is really nice, as like an additional follow-up piece. And then if you set up like your Fiendsmith cards in the grave, like a Fenrir plus Fiendsmith recurring is a lot of good follow-up. So I'm gonna try out 2 of these, see how it goes. This could end up coming out, could end up staying, maybe bump it to 3, I don't know, we'll see. But I think in theory, Fenrir seems like it'd be good. Then 1 Talents and 1 Called By for hand traps. Then the Talents is, I'm playing Thrust in the side at the moment, so having a talent somewhere is important. But I think these cards are just pretty solid. You have a few more extenders in the deck compared to the usual Dino, so the Talents draw 2 could be a little better, but for the most part, you want to end up ripping from their hand if you're going first, if you can. But that's it for the main deck. Like I said, some of this stuff might change, but just kind of my initial thoughts. Then for the extra deck, Anima, SP, Moon, Requiem, Sequence, Agnum Day. It's like all the links. Agnum Day is like one of the flex slots, but I think this card's important for when you go second and want to kill them, because you want to climb into Desiree and then make this, and then it ends up being a lot more damage. It helps you beat over stuff as well. But and then on the follow-up turn, like your turn 3, I think it helps killing a lot. So I think I probably would not cut this card, but it's one of the ones that's like potentially cuttable because the extra deck is very tight. The 1 Desiree, 1 Necroquip, then Caesar. So it's for like the Fiendsmith stuff. It's all pretty standard. Then the Dolka, You don't make this card, or like rank 4s in general, as much as the normal deck because you're using the Meteorus to go into the Astero and you're not like popping it to summon a vanilla. But it's still important to have Dolka. I ended up taking Laggy out just because space purposes, but it's definitely something that could potentially come back in, but I don't think it's necessarily needed. But it could end up being nice sometimes, but the extra deck was just way too tight and something had to go, and that ended up being it. And then for the Jurracs, I'm playing 1 Astero and 2 Meteors. Let me know in the comments which one of these arts you like more, the OG art or the alternate art. So I'll just throw both of these in, just, you know, show them both off. But yeah, I'm playing 1 Astero. There's some times where you do miss having the second one, because there are hands where you want to hard make one and then you have the resources to be able to pop a Megalo in your combo while doing that. So you miss having a second one in those cases, but for the most part, 1's fine. Then the last 2 cards is Reprodocus and Naturia Beast. So this is more experimental. This is why I'm playing Giant Rex. It's very easy to go into this card now because Megalo is a level 1 tuner and you can make it at Earth with this. So Giant Rex and Megalo make Naturia Beast, which is really cool. Just being able to shut down spells is really nice right now, especially with Mitsurugi. Talents is something that can typically hurt you a lot in this deck if they steal your UCT, so this just stopping all those cards is really nice. But if you don't want to play these, there's some other options, but it could be nice. If you want like more follow-up approach, I think IP and a bow are okay, but I'm not a huge fan of a bow, but it works. But it's a lot of investment for this card. But yeah, it's gonna be it for the main deck and the extra deck. Side deck, I'll just show like a little template. This is still work in progress, but the 3rd Perulia, 2 Nibs, so this card's good sometimes to bring in. Magnamut and Druis Worm. These could potentially go to the main deck, but I think they're really good right now, especially since it's a body for Fiendsmith when you go second. Because sometimes you want to side some of the Fiendsmith cards down and just play more like hand traps that put bodies on board. So you can get through it that way. Then 3 Lancia for Malice, 2 Storm and a Duster. Then Thrust package, playing 2 Thrust, 1 Karma Cannon, and 1 Mischief of the Gnomes. There's a lot of different options for the traps, but I think these are like the most generic right now. This is still good versus Malice, but it gives you a wider range as opposed to playing like Sanctum, for example. And then Mischief's like the best one versus the Mitsu Ryzel deck. So, but yeah, I'm just trying to Thrust again, just because it's multi-purpose for when you go second as well. But yeah, the side deck's always kind of just tailor it to your locals or whatever, but that's what I'm trying for now. So that's the deck. I'll show you a combo real quick. Like I said, there's a bunch of different options for the combo. So I'll show you guys the combo that's using Naturia Beast. This is something that you can do whether you use Fiendsmith or not, but this is just something I thought of. I think the combo is a little light on the follow-up. You're just kind of relying on the Fiendsmith cards for your follow-up, which is probably fine. But the Astero nuke in the background is kind of just a backup plan as opposed to being like your main thing. But there's other combos you can do to prioritize follow-up a little better, but this is more of just try to win the game board. And then against certain decks, the Naturia Beast can kind of solo, so I think this is good to know. But this is just any normal 2-card Dino combo. You're going to start off with the Ovi, add the Misk, and then use the Misk, banish for 1 for the Archosaur. Pop the baby, add Pill, then baby effect and grave trigger, summon Petite. Ovi, pop the Petite, resummon the baby, and then the Petite is going to summon Meteorus. Then you're going to synchro summon using the Meteorus and the Ovi for Astero. And then Astero, when it's synchro summoned, you get to place a or set a Jurrac spell trap to the field. So we're going to set the field spell. We're going to activate the volcano, pop the baby to summon a Megalo from deck, under the EMZ specifically, and then the baby's going to summon the Rex. So from this point, you can link off your Archosaur so we can get that non-Dino engrave. Then we're going to link these two off for the Reaperdocus. And then we're going to use the Reaperdocus to make Megalo an Earth. So now it's an Earth Dinosaur, level 1 tuner, which is going to be important for the Naturia Beast. And then you can activate your pill, banish the Rex and the Anima to summon Conductor. And then the Rex is going to come back. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to leave these instead of going into the Naturia Beast, because we're going to go into our Fiendsmith line to play around Nib better. So you're going to link off the Astero and the Reaperdocus for Moon. It might look weird linking off the Astero, but the on-field effect for this is good, but you really just are using this for the nuke effect in the graveyard, just for more layering to your board, because what you have on the field should already win you the game, but if for some reason it doesn't, you're going to have the Astero nuke in the grave that you can use. You're going to have the Volcano that could potentially summon you another nuke. So it's just things that your opponent has to also deal with if they do somehow manage to get through your front line, which is going to be very hard, which you'll see with the end board. It has a few cards that kind of demand a response. But we'll just go through the Fiendsmith line real quick. Moon, Requiem, Requiem, summon Lacrima, Lacrima, dump the Engraver, Requiem, equip to Lacrima, Contact Fusion, summon them for Necroquip, Engraver, shuffle the Moon back to special, and then your opponent has to nib you here, otherwise you just make Caesar, and if they do nib you, it's really not that big of a deal. So you make your Caesar, and then this was an Earth from before, so you have your level 1 Earth tuner, and then level 4 Earth. So that is 1 + 4 = 5 to make Naturia Beast. And if you're not familiar with this card, during IO player's turn, when a spell card is activated, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. So this just shuts down spells. The only things that really stop this card is stuff like Droplet and Dark Ruler, etc., which aren't like Droplet's played a little bit. Dark Ruler doesn't see a ton of play. So it's really nice just to stop engine cards, talents, all sorts of things. So it's just nice that you have more easy access to this card now with Megalo. But on your opponent's turn, you also have the Lacrima and the Requiem, which is going to shuffle back Lacrima to summon the Requiem, and the Requiem's going to summon back the Lacrima from deck, and then the Lacrima is going to dump your Fiendsmith in Paradise. So you have just on the field, you have a Book of Eclipse, negate any spells pretty much, then a double summon negate, because Caesar by itself or Naturia Beast by itself is already really hard for a lot of decks to play through, depending on what their hand is. So both these cards kind of demand a response. So if your opponent has like an Imperm, for example, they have to only, usually if you just have a Caesar and they Imperm it, like that matters a lot, but now they have to choose between 2 cards that are kind of just powerhouses on their own. And if you do get Dark Ruler on this board, for example, you're still going to have the Paradise Engrave, which is going to banish itself when your opponent specials a monster, and it's going to dump Desiree, and then Desiree is going to shuffle back a Light Fiend to send a card in the field. And then you also have the Astero in the grave, which at any point you can banish it and another Jurrac to summon the Meteor. And then the Volcano can also summon you a meteor. So this is after they use 4 monster effects. So ideally, both the 4 monster effect condition is met before you need to use the first Estero. So if for some reason all this gets dealt with, you still have the nukes in the back. So if you end up just summoning these, like everything goes, and then yeah, you just end up with the meteor, and then next turn you have all your Fiendsmith follow up. So it's pretty decent. But like I said, the nukes are kind of just a backup plan. What you end on should win you the game on its own most of the time, but if it doesn't, you just have a few extra layers to kind of help with that. But that's like the main thing. If you don't have the Fiendsmith stuff, you can still do pretty much everything that I just showed. You would just make SP instead of the closed moon, and having the SP helps you try to get some type of follow-up if you want to go for the Nat Beast route, because you can use the SP to banish itself and the conductor off your field after you use its Book of Eclipse effect. So it's like decent. It's not as good, but it's not too bad. But that's like the best low investment follow-up you can kind of go for without adding a bunch of stuff to the deck. Yeah, it's going to be it for this one. I have plenty more coming on the way. This is just kind of first thoughts and something I thought was interesting. So if you have any questions or suggestions, leave it in the comments. Thanks for watching. Take care. Peace.